using AI tools and writing feels like it's getting complicated. Writing with AI, you can look at it as a spectrum, right? There are two camps. There are those that will actually use AI to write a whole content piece or article, and they might not even review it and just post it out there, focus on churning out quantity and focus on churning out more content. Then the second camp is there are folks that might not even want to use AI at all. They're mostly sticking to traditional techniques. It's ignoring the reality if you fall into camp B. But for folks in camp A, we need to understand how we can use AI authentically and use it to optimize our productivity when we write it. As of the time of this recording, Grammarly is being sued by a New York Times writer and editor, mainly for one of their product feature, which is the expert review, which they've actually pulled away from the site. And obviously, writing with AI is very difficult. Grammarly is a tool that a lot of folks actually use to edit their content. They use it to check for plagiarism. They have an AI writer checker, and they used to have this expert review that they now pulled out. We're not going to focus too much on the lawsuit, but these are the key things here, right? The lawsuit is centered around the fact that these tech companies are monetizing AI products without permission. I'm not focusing too much on Grammarly being sued there. What I am focusing on is the middle ground. I think there's a middle ground when you're using AI tools to write content, whether it's a LinkedIn post or social media copy or an ad copy or a full article. There's a middle ground, and it's not going to come from these models getting better. We have capable models. Successful implementation of AI tools within writing tools is going to be by understanding the writing workflow and integrating it properly. We have to get this AI capabilities within these AI tools in the way that writers are using them. I'm a writer. I've been writing for a while. I've written on Medium. I've written on NVIDIA. I've written several blogs across the internet for over 5 years now. And one thing I've noticed is I have some predefined workflow and choices that I make whenever I'm writing a new piece. But that aside, I'm also a builder. I'm an AI native. I've studied AI at university. I use and I teach AI, and I build AI tools as well. So I built a tool called OpenSpeech that is essentially a learning partner for knowledge seekers. It's a tool that I use to gain knowledge and help improve the rate at which I can consume new topics. But in this video, I want to focus on the docs feature. I write a lot, and I decided to implement a feature where you can create documents and write documents and go through the whole writing workflow. So we're going to go through that video, and I'm hoping through this video, you can see what the future can look like when we're using AI within traditional workflows or tasks that we humans do. For those that don't understand what the writing workflow looks like, let me explain it. You have the research stage. This is where you're going to get documents, research papers, articles, just to get some knowledge on the topic you're about to write about. Then I would typically start with an outline, the headings, the topics, and maybe even some ideas of what to include in some of these headings. Then I'll start with a first draft. And the first draft might be rough. I'll probably start with an introduction, then have the conclusion filled out, then the middle bit. Then I'll revise it. Then I'll keep editing and probably have more drafts. But eventually we go for a proofreading stage, and then we can send it off for sign off. Some people even use narration in their workflow where they speak, and then they have a tool that actually put the words onto the editor, then they refine. But I don't do that yet. Within OpenSpeech, I actually map this workflow. I try my best to map my writing workflow to the features within OpenSpeech. So let's take a look at that. When you get into OpenSpeech, you probably land over here once you sign up. Then you can go into the side tab over here for docs. Then you can start with a new doc. And we're just going to call, and you can see we have these 2 articles that I ingested a couple minutes ago. You can see them here. I'll explain what seed content is. I'm writing a piece around the agent loop. And if you don't know what the agent loop is, that's a separate video. I'll probably put a video out explaining what the agent loop is. But then there is something that I call the seed content. Remember, in the workflow, you're doing your research, and I've created this feature where you can use some of the articles or PDFs or research papers that you've been using to formulate what you're going to write about and bring it into the context of your editor. I have some agent loop piece, and I could search that. So I could add this as seed. And this one is from OpenAI here. And seed content will basically, the content where you can source information from when you're doing your writing. I have an auto-generate feature within this docs feature. We're going to take a look at it. So we're talking about an agent loop here. Let's create this doc. Now it's creating a doc, and it's going to use The seed file is some foundation on which the auto-generate feature and the chat is going to get started with. Okay, so just to speed up this demo with the docs feature within OpenSpeech, I just pasted some content that I'm currently writing on the agent loop itself. But just to quickly show you some of the key features here. So the seed, you can add seed files. These are content that exist already within your OpenSpeech account, which would be like research documents, right? Articles, papers that you want to use as reference point. But there are resources. Now, resources are pieces that you've created that the AI can actually reference from. This would be some of the code that I have written that I want the AI to reference to put as a code block, right? So that's what I see resources as. There's that nuance between seed. Seed are things you want to reference, external sources, or you want to use them to inspire your writing. While resources, they're referenced directly verbatim within the actual piece itself, ideally pieces that you've written as well. I have a mode called focus mode. AI tools are great, but I find they can be distracting. We have the chat over here. We can go into focus mode that will remove all of this, minimize all of these buttons, and put us in that mode where we can start doing some writing. So this is what focus mode is for. This is when I'm in the zone, in the flow state, trying to go into the article itself. Let's come out of this, right? So you see this content here. So that's the UI. In a typical writing workflow, you would have things like tasks that you want to do. So I find myself having a to-do list. So I do have a little to-do list feature here where we can say write, outline, proofread. Then I can go through this to make sure I'm taking them off as I'm doing the actual writing piece. This is a feature that I just implemented. Very simple feature to implement. Let's go to the chat. You always want to interact with your content. And one way that I found that is easy to do it is by a chat interface. So this chat interface can modify what's in the content by request. But let's look at this in action. We have 3 levels of review. The first one is to review and leave improvement as comments. So I'll show you this feature. Make it sound more technical. This is just a general review. The AI will review the content and put comments in places that it feels are areas for improvement. This mirrors what you have when you have an editor that goes through your content and they will leave any improvements in content. So that's what I was trying to achieve with this feature. So right now, it's reviewing the document itself. It's going through the document. It has a visualization of what's actually in this piece of document. It's reviewing the content. We see the highlighted part. If you hover on it, you can see it's giving a review. This is directionally strong, but it still reads high level rather than technical. Tighten it by naming the harness as a runtime control plane. It's doing its job. And over on this side, we can see that there's a comment section, which you have in like Microsoft Word and Google Docs. You have the comment and the highlighted area of the text over here. Then you have the comment, and the comment is written on my behalf, right, by the AI. And that's all the comments. You can see we can start to have this type of review where an editor can leave a comment rather than change the actual content itself. And that's it. That is one method of review. The second one is to leave, before we go to the second one, this is something you can do. This is something that is neat. You can actually get the AI within OpenSpeech to edit the actual content itself. So I can click resolve all, and what will happen is the AI will go through the comments that were made, look at the content, and then modify it. So by clicking resolve all, it will go through the content and start making changes to the content based on what a comment is suggested. Here we can see as it's been done, they will be resolved as well. It's solved this one. It's currently resolving this one. So that's resolved. It's resolving the next one, which is the one that we're currently seeing on screen. Okay, that's been resolved now. And it's made it more technical, that particular area. Okay, everything's been resolved. We can see the comment here and it says resolved over here. It says resolved over here, which means everything's resolved. So, okay. All right, so that's one way. So we've seen review and leave improvement as comments, but then we've seen the AI actually address the improvements itself. Let's see another one. Review and leave improvements as suggestions. In Google Docs, where you can get a human leaving reviews or suggestion where you cross out what is there originally, and then next to it, you see your actual content. We can do that within OpenSpeech. Google Docs has API, and I tried to make this work in Google Docs where you can have like an AI go through a Google Doc piece and actually leave suggested edits programmatically. You don't actually have this in the Google Docs API. And people have requested this. This was requested from 2023. As you can see, that feature has not been implemented. But why wait for Google to implement it when we can implement it by ourselves? We click on this. Again, this is editorial guidance. And we'll give it a second. But the main thing is, right, now we're moving away from just having chat interfaces and having that feedback from your chat interface. Now you're looking at having the AI modify the actual content and have access to some of the tools and capabilities of your platform and then act on behalf of the user on this particular feature. Here we can see it's actually completed it. It's told us what it's done. But we can see on the document itself, there's some removals, and we can either accept all, or we can go through each one and accept or reject. And this is the feature, right? It's similar to Google Docs or any other editor document or editing tool you're using to create your documents. Now, this is not perfect. I think it takes time to do all of this, and I need to reduce the latency, make this faster, because there is a bit of time it takes. But you can click accept all or reject all. So let's just accept everything, and now the piece is changed. Okay, now let's look at another one. Let's look at the final boss of the review stage, which is the making improvement and just doing a complete rewrite. We don't want comments. We don't want inline edits. We want the complete rewrites of what we originally put in. And we just click on this button and we go straight in there to make the improvement. All right, now it's done a complete rewrite. So I know it's a complete rewrite because this wasn't there before. Yeah, so it's done a complete rewrite. And again, there's still some issues with the fonts that I need to sort out. But these are the 3 levels of review within a writing workflow, right? Comments, where you leave the changes as comments or feedback as comments, or suggestions, where you have inline suggestions on the document, but not making the changes. Then you have a complete rewrite. And that's one of the AI features. Then let me show you another one. We have this complete feature. You have to enable it here. And what I've implemented is I can have this autocomplete feature, and it will use the seed file to conduct some autocomplete. So I can start with agent, give it a couple seconds, then it's going to generate the completion. The thing here is it's using the seed file to figure out what the completion should be. There needs to be a reduction in latency because it can take a bit of a while. And we can see agent loop is, tap to accept, and it just mentions what agent loop is. This is coming from the seed file that we've provided it as the basis of its knowledge. And remember, the resources are what you want it to reference. Ideally, this would be your own work. And that's what we're seeing here. And this is ways I'm trying to figure out how I can incorporate AI into my existing writing workflow. Particularly, we are seeing the review process. We're seeing some of the auto generation process. And auto generation can be a hit or miss. It's a feature you should use if you have writer's block, right? You're staring at a blank page, you don't know where to start or you don't know how to complete. That's where you use this feature. And with this actual chat interface, you can do something here which is connected to the internet. And now when it's making edit, it can use some of the internet searches as part of the editing it's making. So we can ask it to update the piece to include technical content. Based on the latest research, update the piece, and let's see what it does. So it's going to do a bit of an internet search, then it's going to come back and update this piece, ideally. So this is going to be a complete full rewrite. Okay. And these are the AI features we have in OpenSpeech for editing documents and actually having AI included in your writing workflow. Let me know if there's any other features you'd like to see here or your thoughts of using AI for writing.